I just sort of went into this existential crisis of what is the creative imposter? Why do I have it? Why do I need this show? What is different about it than podcast envy? You're listening to The Creative Impostor, episode number 73. Welcome to The Creative Impostor. I'm Andrea Klunder, and it has been a while since I have released an episode here for you. My last episode was this past summer with the fabulous Matt Marr. It was a really good one. I hope you've heard it. And I have to tell you, something really strange has happened or is happening, which is that I did not plan to take a hiatus. And in fact, over on my other podcast, Podcast Envy, all about how to craft a show that matters, I have recently advised podcasters that if they are going to take a hiatus from their show, they should tell their listeners. They should announce it. They should set some expectations so that you're not just leaving your listeners hanging. And I did not do that. And I have been feeling guilty about it ever since I dispensed that advice. So I decided to come here with a short solo episode. Well, who knows? Once I get talking, it could not be short. It could be long. Let's just see. But with a solo episode, just to check in and say, hi, I haven't forgotten you. I haven't abandoned you. And I'm so happy and grateful that you have not abandoned me either. And I know this because for some reason, even though I have not released a new episode since summer, I have over 1,000 downloads of The Creative Impostor across all of the episodes per month since then. There's no new content and I'm still getting over 1,000 downloads of this show, which surprisingly or not surprisingly is still more downloads than I get of Podcast Envy, which I have been consistently producing every single week. Perhaps because The Creative Impostor has been around longer, since 2015, and Podcast Envy is new this year. Perhaps because Podcast Envy is more of a niche show specifically for podcasters and aspiring podcasters. Perhaps because there's just more keyword content available on The Creative Impostor. I'm not really sure whether those numbers of you listening are new subscribers since I took my little break, or whether they are people who have been subscribed, but they have to be new subscribers, because if you are a current subscriber, you would not automatically be getting any new downloads. You would only be manually searching for old episodes to listen to. Who are you? It's so weird to be talking to you, and I feel like there are certain things that I know about you because you are a listener of the show. There are certain assumptions that I can make, and because there are a number of you who I do know in person. You are part of my personal circle of people, or you're part of my Creative Impostor Facebook group, or the Creative Impostor Chicago Women's Collective on Meetup. So some of you I definitely know. Some of you I can make some assumptions about, but some of you I have no idea. I'm trying to think of who are those 1,000 downloads coming from that are discovering my show when there's no new content. Anyways, this has sent me down a rabbit hole, which was not at all what I expected to be talking about today. But I wanted to do a few things. First of all, I wanted to say hi. I'm here. I haven't disappeared. I'm producing Podcast Envy. If you are interested in the topic of podcasting specifically, there's some really good stuff happening over on that show, and you should definitely subscribe. I'm also over at Power Your Story. While it's not me, it's my student mentees, my high school students who are producing that show. And we have a ton of new content in the pipeline that is slowly going to be getting released over the holiday season that I'd love for you to check out. And I've been over at Key Change creating opera for all voices with the Santa Fe Opera. And this is an integrated podcasting opera storytelling experience, all about an initiative through the Community Outreach and Education Department at the Santa Fe Opera called Opera for All Voices, which is all about diversity and inclusion. And having the conversation about what diversity and inclusion means in the opera world and just in the arts world in the United States in general. What does American opera mean? What does contemporary opera mean? What does it look like? What does it sound like? What kinds of stories are we telling? Who is telling those stories? The first season is out now, and it's all about the origin story of this initiative and some of the initial artists that have become a part of it, the first two pieces that are being commissioned as a result. And we are in the depths of editing season 2, which will be coming out this spring, which takes an even deeper look behind the scenes into some of these harder questions about what diversity and inclusion mean. And what is representation? And why is it a challenge in this industry or in general? And why does any of this even matter? So there's been a lot of work going on, and that is the reason for the hiatus on the Creative Impostor. I just couldn't keep up with everything. The other reason became clear to me when I went on hiatus unexpectedly was that I am getting bored with the Creative Impostor. I mean, not the idea of it, not the brand, not podcasting in general, but just the format. I mean, I've been doing it for a couple of years. I have some great interviews. I love doing interviews. I love doing the solo episodes. But I really, now that I'm doing interviews over on Podcast Envy, it kind of feels like, why do I have 2 shows? And in fact, I've been working with a business coach who is Robin Conley Downs of the Feel Good Effect podcast, one of the podcasts that I edit. And Robin actually said to me in a coaching, why do you have 2 shows? Do you need to have 2 shows? Maybe you should just focus on one. And at first I was like, no, I can't only have one. I can't let go of the Creative Impostor. That's my baby. That's the first show. I love that show. And I have more listeners on that show. But from a business perspective, this show doesn't really make that much sense anymore because my business is all about supporting podcasters. And so I just sort of went into this existential crisis of what is the Creative Impostor? Why do I have it? Why do I need this show? What is different about it than Podcast Envy? And I also have been thinking for a long time now that I have, pretty well, this sounds really arrogant, mastered the podcast interview. But now that I've done a lot of interviews and I feel really comfortable and confident in this format, and most podcasts that we listen to are either solo produced shows, co-hosted shows, or interview shows, I keep thinking, what else is possible with the medium of podcasting? What else is possible in audio? I mean, yeah, we also have narrative fiction podcasts like Gimlet's Homecoming and narrative nonfiction podcasts like Serial. But there has to be something else, some kind of experimental, immersive audio experience. I don't know exactly what it is yet, but I want to do something really different with the Creative Impostor in 2019. And I have a few ideas. Not 100% sure, but I really want to experiment and do something that is still valuable to you, but that is also entertaining or also helps us think about things in a new way. I want it to be more creative, to be honest. So that's where I'm going with this. So more is coming, but I don't know what and I don't know when. In the meantime, here are a few ways that I would love to connect with you. 1, email me. Send me an email, andrea@thecreativeimpostor.com, and let me know why you listen to the show. So no formal survey or anything, just email me. Why do you listen to the show? What do you love most about it? Or what do you get out of it? So that I can make sure that my new content direction is aligned with what you love and what you want and with you. 2, join my Facebook community, which is the Creative Impostor, linked in the show notes, of course, for this episode. 3, if you love podcasts, either as a podcast listener or as a podcast maker, I would like to invite you to participate in a little experiment that I'm doing called #podcastgratitude. There are 2 ways for you to participate in this experiment. Number 1, post something on Instagram. It could be a photo, it could be a video, it could be an audiogram if you know what those are. It could be a screenshot of a show that you love listening to, and share why you are grateful for podcasts, either as a listener or as a producer. Include the hashtag podcast gratitude, and be sure to tag me at Andrea Klunder so that I am sure to see it. So again, that's hashtag podcast gratitude on Instagram. Do that anytime between now and the end of the year. And if you would like to get featured on an episode of Podcast Envy that is coming out in December of this year, send me a 3-minute or less, clean, meaning no explicit language, audio file that I can include on the show that is a story about why you are grateful for podcasts. Again, either from the standpoint of a listener or from the perspective of a producer. Why you're grateful for podcasts or podcasting, what it has done for you, how they have changed your life. For example, I have a story about how podcasting saved me from depression, bankruptcy, and imposter syndrome, which I will include on that episode. If you're not sure how to make an audio file that you can send me, you probably have a voice memo app on your phone. Just plug in your earbuds that have a microphone and record into that app. And there should be a way that you can export that file. You can send me a WAV file or an MP3 file. And the best way to share that is through Dropbox or Google Drive. And you will share it with Andrea at infuselife.net. So that's Google Drive or Dropbox, Andrea at infuselife.net. And I will consider it for inclusion in that episode. And I need those audio files by November 20th, 2018, which is coming soon. Hashtag podcast gratitude on Instagram, or send me an audio file, or both. So I shared with you, email me why you love the Creative Impostor specifically as I'm continuing to create my content plan for 2019. 2 is to join my Creative Impostor Facebook group. And 3 is to participate in the hashtag podcast gratitude experiment that I'm running either with an audio file or Instagram or both. So for all you new listeners who have started listening to the show in the months that I have not been producing content, thank you so much for listening and subscribe. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, because there will be new content coming soon and I want you to be the first to get it. And the way that you do that is by subscribing in whatever app you're using. If you are listening on Spotify, it doesn't say subscribe, but you can either, depending on whether you're on mobile or desktop, you can heart the podcast and or follow. If you want some things to listen to and you're curious about how podcasting can make a powerful, positive social impact, I've been doing a series of episodes around that topic over on Podcast Envy. And here is one more way that we can get connected. If you are really into this podcasting thing and you want to launch your own show next year, I am offering a small group launch pod. It is the Podcast Envy Launch Pod, and you can find out how to become a part of it at thecreativeimpostor.com/launch pod envy. And if you are listening to this right now and you are already a podcaster, but you're feeling like you want to be a part of something bigger, like you're not sure what direction your show is going, you know there's more potential to be had with what you're creating, but you could use some support, some camaraderie, some one-on-one advice from me, that is the Podcast Envy VIP circle that I am custom creating for you in January. Details for the VIP circle for current podcasters can be found at thecreativeimpostor.com/grow together. Of course, all of these links, instructions for the podcast gratitude program, all of that will be in the show notes for this episode of The Creative Impostor, in the description for whichever app you are using to listen to this, and at thecreativeimpostor.com. I'm Andrea Klunder. This has been a special Hey, I'm Still Here episode of The Creative Impostor. This episode, of course, was mixed by Edwin Ruiz at Mondo Machine. Our theme music is by Jovia Armstrong. And this month, I am wishing you an opportunity to dig deep and look at what really matters to you, and then to be open to the energy of the holiday season to spark some magic, to think about how to prioritize the things that matter to you in a creative, imaginative, inventive kind of way for 2019.